Biff, they say when you have sex, you burn the same amount of calories you do running 8 miles. And you know what I say? I can't run 8 miles in 30 seconds. I can't run 8 miles in 30 seconds.
I heard you. I heard you the first time. Oh my God. Why am I still doing this? Where is Joe? Joe!
No,
Joe!
Nope, not gonna help.
No.
Hey,
oh, come on.
So you better than anybody know the term cock blocking, Biff. But do you know?
Thank you.
Do you know what lesbians call it?
What do lesbian? Yeah.
Well, the lesbian version of cock blocking, a beaver dam.
Beaver dam.
A beaver dam.
Joe. No,
you gotta, you watch Pee Wee Herman. Remember the magic word for Pee Wee Herman? Maybe try that.
The magic word for Pee Wee Herman? I don't know.
Mecca hi, Mecca hiney ho.
Oh my God.
Mecca like a hi, Mecca hiney Joe.
Hi, fellas. Did somebody say laughter?
I'm gonna have to take notes on that one because I've been doing the Candyman thing for a while now. Beetlejuice.
Oh, man.
Well, it's actually Candyman or Beetlejuice, one of the two. It's actually Beetlejuice.
I've done Bloody Mary.
Yeah, you do. My little guy a couple of years ago had a sleepover, and him and his stupid buddies. Like at 3 a.m, I'm like, I hear them in the upstairs bathroom. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Oh, this is Bloody Mary. You have to do it at 3 a.m. I'm like, no, you have to go to bed. Anyways, hello, everybody. I'm Jacques.
I'm Biff.
And I'm Joe, your favorite podcaster of all time.
No
that
debate. No argument here. None. What? So Biff and I are off the hook for today. All you, Joe. Oh, you can take it here. You can bring it on home.
Yeah, I'm very articulate and well thought out. Well, good night.
It will be everybody's favorite podcast episode ever.
Shortest one ever. And what is the podcast people are regretfully listening to right now, Joe?
Oh, Carnival Personnel. Well, are we I think we're number 1 in Riyadh or something. Like,
Riyadh.
No. Is that a place?
In my heart?
Yes.
It's Xanadu. We're big in Xanadu.
Xanadu.
It's all the roller skating. So, love starting a Chuckle Fest comedy podcast wannabe on a down note, but I'll just address it and we'll talk about it for a minute. Anybody listening probably this past week heard about a child in the city of Lowell who went missing the other morning. That missing child went missing from a home about a quarter mile from me. And, we heard about it almost instantly that the child was dropped off at their babysitter's house at around 7:30 in the morning. Only the third or fourth time. I don't know the relationship between the parents and the babysitter. It's not like a licensed daycare center or anything like that. It's just a friend who was watching this child or somebody hired to watch the child. At around 9:15, 9:30, a neighbor saw this 3-year-old kid, this small kid in the backyard of an unfenced yard. Let the babysitter know. Instantly, they realized he had wandered off. The police responded within 15 minutes, and the child, sadly, nonverbal, wandered away, whether it was trying to walk back home or just explore the area. But over the next day and a half, it was impressive to see how quickly a force came together. First, it was 5 or 6 cop cars, local police, a couple towns over, fire trucks from a couple towns, first responders, but within a couple hours, there was the state police were involved, federal investigators. I don't know if it's come across in this podcast before, but I'm a little bit more on the side of there's the Blue Lives Matter people, and then there's the NWA, fuck the police fans, and I'm usually more on that side of the fence. But when they came by the house, asking if they could do a top to bottom sweep of the house, without, we couldn't, my boys were home from school that day. It's like, yeah, come right on in, walked them right through. They went through closets, looked under beds. We live in a very wooded area. Until I saw the news footage and the overhead shot, it's like, wow, we really do live in the woods, not just, but anyway, so the kid, wandered off, and the search went on late till the night. And then in the morning, it started back up at like dawn, and now they brought in the National Guard. They had usually two, but sometimes three helicopters circling. They had the helicopters the day before as well. Personally, I talked to detectives from the local police, the state police, federal, like they came door to door, talking to people. And just sitting in my office down here, every half hour, I would see different waves of different uniformed, type, different first responders, different law enforcement. And again, our yard is, 3 acres, and it's very wooded. And they, our pool, which, talked about in the last podcast, it's very hard to see the bottom. And so they had 3-4 people with the skimmers going through the pool. They actually dropped a camera down there. They actually drained some pools, like locally. Unfortunately, that this kid Harry was found like, around 2 p.m. the following day, like, about 29 hours later, and a pond 650 feet from the house he went wandering. So, and allegedly, and of course, I don't know why I say allegedly, but the local fire people, that was like one of the first place they looked, but it was a dive team that actually, they showed up in a SWAT truck, because there's several ponds within, a few blocks. Within a mile of us is a big river, which he would have had to cross 2 very, very major streets to get to. But whether he went right in there, whatever happened, but they got him in the pond, which is about 5 feet deep, the following morning. So it's something that's the parents' worst nightmare. I can't. It's something that, the rest of my life, it will haunt everybody. You see it on TV all the time, but when it's actually in your neighborhood, it's hard. It's really hard, and I cannot imagine, like, the grief of the parents, the grief of the babysitter. She,
I mean, it's like 15 minutes, right? It was like, I think it's 15 minutes that they lost sight of that child. The neighbor saw him, and then 15 minutes later, I mean, I guess the babysitter immediately called the authorities, right?
And like I said, the fact that the kid was, whether he walked in a straight line and walked right into the pond or whatever, whether he circled back and people just missed him or whatever, but the fact that he's nonverbal, and he couldn't call out if anything happened. It's just heartbreaking. So if you heard anything about it, it was honestly, if you were to walk over, it's about a third of the mile to walk over. But if you cut through the woods, it's about a quarter mile. It's about 10 houses away from here. Yeah. And it just, nothing sucks more than that. So
I mean, it is kind of, like you say, you see these things on the news, and it happened to me maybe more than once, but the one that really I remember is one time as a child, one of my dad's employees, somebody who worked for my dad, they lived in a high-rise apartment. It was like this window washing day, and like the baby crawled out of her crib and fell to her death. And it's like I was probably 9, but I mean something like that happened is like. It's like, what do you do as a parent, right? It's like, you're doing your everyday thing, and
Did you guys ever have one of your kids just wander off for a couple minutes and have the absolute panic?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You go to a mall or a store or anything like that. Yeah, and me as a very bad father, in particular,
did you have a specific time which one of your guys got away from?
I mean, I can't remember a specific time, but I mean, they would have been like 3, toddler age, and or 4 maybe, and then. Even like up to 5 or 6, you start to get, I mean, especially when you have like kids on like the spectrum, you just don't know how aware they are of the surroundings, or like what they would do when encountered by a stranger or something like that. And you take your eyes off of them. And I'm sure I've done this to my parents growing up. I'm
Right.
sure we've all done this to our
Right,
parents.
right.
We've all scared the shit out of our parents. Although we also grew up in a time where it was like, yeah, just go out and ride your bikes until, sundown. We'll see you later.
The street lights come on.
Yeah. So it's like, but
Yeah.
getting back to the babysitter, I mean, it's sort of like, when you have like a non-speaking kid who's autistic, you kind of you kind of wonder how equipped they were to handle that.
Right. Again, it's one thing if you're dropping your kid off at a friend's house who's, if your kid doesn't have certain challenges, but somebody who has these challenges, are they equipped to deal with that?
Right. You're just constantly if you're going to have to keep an eye on them all the time. I assume the babysitter was alone with the kid.
I don't know.
Many,
those details will sadly come
imagine,
out.
Even if that's the case, if you're watching a kid by yourself and you have to take a piss,
right?
What do you? I mean, you can't just, and especially somebody like that. And apparently, I spoke with a law enforcement friend of ours who has done some training with dealing with, I guess, law enforcement's been dealing more and more with trying to understand and how to engage with autistic people. And apparently, one of the traits of autistic kids, especially, is their fascination with water. So there seems to be a connection there somehow. So it's just the worst of all possible combinations that happened to this poor kid. I mean, it's just awful.
At one point, I'm sitting at my office and I was it was one of those things. I was on hold with the bank. I finally got a person. I was having trouble, connecting, and guy was being super, super helpful. 2 people walked by, 2 more people walked by, 4 people walked by, and I'm like, it was one of those things. I was on hold for 20 minutes, finally got a human being. I'm 5 minutes into the call. I'm like, I gotta go, and I come out and there was 20 plus people in the yard, and not my yard, going through everybody's yard. It's I did a couple of times. It's the 4th time, somebody has a notepad and is asking you just routine questions and this and that. And I'm a middle-aged white guy home alone in the middle of the day. You know what I mean? It's but yeah, it was, it was just amazing, how many people, and they had 3 bases of operation. The state people had a base, about a mile away, at the supermarket. There's a church about a half mile away where local and state were. And then of course, just rows and rows of news vans, going down the street. And
it's amazing how fast it all came together.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess, hours, yeah. But still, yeah. I mean, it's just when it shows you when people want to do something
right
and get shit done in an expedient, time efficient manner, it can be done. So
because we see all those cop shows and stuff, and one of the state detectives talking to me said, yeah, we came in, we take over, the feds came in, they take over, and we all coordinate together under, one thing. So it's first couple hours it takes, but it's really the first 10, 15 minutes. So, and who knows if he wandered right into that or if he was walking around and came back later or something. I mean, I guess they'll know all that over the next whatever. Not that I really want to.
Yeah, you're not going to follow up on
look into it. I mean, it is what it is, and it's just horrible, and they don't suspect foul play, and everybody across the board. I mean, and it is. There was one time that we were at downtown Disney. It's a big complex. There's this open space, literally an open half a football field, just a quad area. That's the word I'm looking for, with benches and stuff, but open, and restaurants on all sides of it. And there was a group of 6 or 7 adults and maybe 2 or 3 or 4 kids. And it was one of those things where we're putting the name on the list, doing a head count, you turn around, blah, 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 this. Oh, okay. It wasn't a 10-second, you turn around and one of the little guys was gone. Nobody thought anything of it. It's oh, he's right there. He's hiding. He, does this and that. And 10 seconds turns into a minute, turns into 2 minutes. And then we're all kind of okay, I'm going to go look here. Maybe he went there. He ended up backtracking about a quarter or so mile, a little more, to the Lego store. And he was just in there building, they have this race car thing, and you have a ramp. You can, absolutely nothing. But there was 6, 7 adults standing right there. And it was how could he even get across this? And of course, he was wearing a full-on Robin outfit, so it's like easily. I'm not even kidding, like identifiable. But it's like, and even not just because of the last couple of days, but the wife and I will periodically talk about that. It's like, remember when he went running off, and we're like, yeah, and it's still. It was a 10-minute window of just the first minute was fine. The second minute's like, well, he's right here somewhere, but you get a little anxious. But those till we found him, you're being calm, but it's still, 8 years later, it's like, so sorry to start everything on a down note, but a lot of people have texted me like, hey, wait, don't you live in Lowell? Who heard it on the news.
Which sometimes that like, you get like, hey, I hope you're okay. And it's like a storm that's like 50 miles away from you,
Right.
Because we're like, in the area. But this literally would happen in your backyard. So it was awful.
So let's get back to the laughs.
Yeah.
Sure.
But speaking of, I know Joe and I talked about this. Biff, did you see the George Carlin, the 2-part special on George Carlin?
It's on HBO Max, right?
You don't have
Is that
HBO
right?
Max?
I do not have HBO Max.
All right.
So
you're not a real American.
Yeah. Oh,
wait, are you?
that is actually a true statement.
There you go.
That is a true statement.
A real,
yes.
a real North American?
We're gonna
Not even that. Not even
man.
that.
add that to the list right there. Doesn't have HBO Max. Very suspect. Anyways, it's a great 2-part
I'm not.
series.
I'm worried that I'm on a no-fly list now. So.
Well, so it was great. Part 1 and 2. I think I knew about 75, 80%. I don't think there was any shocking revelations. I think the shocking revelation was like how honest his daughter was, about abuse that went on in the home, and not just like George Carlin beat his daughter. It wasn't so much that, but like the drug abuse and the fights and the stuff. What was amazing is a lot of people. I saw a documentary 10 years ago. I didn't know the George Carlin of the 50s and 60s. I didn't know the Tonight Show, the pre-Carson Tonight
Right,
Show.
the button-down suit, kind of clean-shaven.
That he was a comedy team. That he moved to L.A. with a comedy partner.
Yeah.
And was just a square man. Just one of those.
Yeah, just run of the mill. I mean, but as was commented on in the documentary, Richard Pryor kind of took that same route.
He and Richard Pryor were on what show? They were on a show together, like on a regular basis. One, in the era of like specials, like the Bob Hope special, the Don Ho special, all these different people who had different specials. Him and Richard Pryor performed, and it was so milquetoast.
Yes,
it was the most. G-rated, maybe a risque PG, not a PG-13 joke. No.
They didn't even have that back then.
No, but yes. And it's like, wait, that's Richard Pryor and George Carlin telling dad jokes.
Right.
In reality, they're like, so in a way, Bob Saget kind of took their path, right? Because, his stand-up is this over here, and his TV stuff was this over here, and it's like,
well, the thing is, like George Carlin made the conscious decision.
Yeah,
and I remember seeing this in a documentary 10 years ago, and I always loved it. And I saw the speech where he got a lifetime achievement for something, and he spells it out. He's like, I didn't want to do this. I was dying inside. I had so much more to say. I couldn't say it on the Jack Parr show. I couldn't say it on Johnny Carson. And I went, and they just bought a house. They just put a down payment on a house. So they just signed the paperwork. He was doing well, and he could have done this forever. He could have done this forever. And he went to his wife. It's like, I can't do this. I want to do this, but it's going to mean working twice as much, making 20% of what I'm making now.
And doing the road a lot.
And what does she say?
I forgot.
I'll make your press kit. Like,
yes.
doesn't hesitate. And he does. He becomes, and then he has about a 10-year window. I mean, he was one of the pioneers of making HBO comedy specials a thing. That was a big thing. But then he had about maybe not a 10-year window, but a 5-8 year window where he wasn't killing it and wasn't kicking down doors and wasn't shocked. And like Cheech and Chong came out, and I guess even like Cheech Marin was in a big article who basically said, it's like, yeah, he's done, you know.
Right. He was doing a lot of wordplay. He was kind of, getting very granular and very surface level, I guess, with his comedy. And I mean, I kudos to the documentarians for including the Rick Moranis SCTV parody of George Carlin.
That's funny.
No, he became a joke inside. Oh, this guy was the next Lenny Bruce. He did all this, and now he's back to. And I forget who he called.
He was doing that. Is that the place for? Is it the place for my stuff era? Is that what it is?
No, that was
basically?
pre that. It was actually it was like a give peas a chance, man. Like that kind of type of
and that was it. He ended up calling. I said Don Ho, but it was Tony Orlando.
Yes,
he calls Tony Orlando and says, "Hey, I'd like to come to your show." And Tony Orlando's like,
Tony Orlando was too hip for George Carlin.
And he's like, "Why would you?" And he did. So Carlin started doing that absolutely almost going back to what was safe for him.
There's a little button on the side.
Yeah, no, it's off if the phone rings, jackass, but if that's an alarm that reminds me to stop eating. Anyways, but the Carlin stuff, then he reads this and he's like, yeah, they're fucking right. I'm a joke. SCTV is making fun of him. Canadians are making fun of him.
Oh, the worst crime in humanity, I think. Worse than Hitler. And there's your Hitler reference of the Carnival Personnel Podcast. Good night.
Oh boy.
You thanked Hitler.
I would never.
Why would I thank Hitler? And so it's great. It's a two-parter. It gets a little dark. Again, kudos to his daughter for being just really honest about the good stuff, the bad stuff. But then when he starts to really say, fuck this, I have way too much to say. And even as his health declines, he still had a lot to say. And what's going on politically now with Roe versus Wade, all these other things. I just rewatched one. I want to say it was like from 96. Holy shit. It's like, it's watching Nostradamus. Everything that he said, this is how it's happening. This is why it's happening. This is the timeline it's happening. And he has some great line. It's like, something about, when fascism comes, they're not coming at this time. They're not coming in the brown suits and the boots. They're coming with ties and smiles.
Yeah. He was very prescient,
and also, and Joe, I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, Biff. Have you ever played hockey with Ian Bagg?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually saw him back when I was playing in that second. So I'm guessing right around 99 or so. He was actually on the Tonight Show once. I remember. So yeah,
it's one of those things where you watch a comedy special. Hey, you might want to also check out this. There's an Ian Bagg special up on Amazon Prime from 2019, and dude. It's him in the locker room. There's no bits. He's essentially doing crowd work, and it's fucking brilliant. I don't know if you went with me to Mill Number 5 when the second time I went, when the guy did nothing but crowd work.
Yeah.
No jokes.
He was like the cruise ship comedian, right?
But he was.
He
great.
went to Alaska, right? Wasn't he like a cruise ship on an Alaska guy?
And honestly. No routines, no, hey, hear about this in the news. It's like, just work the fuck. And it wasn't a big room. There weren't a lot of people in there, but he stretched that out for it. Was so here's the, so Ian, I remember like in 98, 99, I was hanging around with him a bit. Cause he knew I was trying to do comedy stuff too. And he's like, oh, I'm going out. And he would go to he's one of those guys who would go to 3 or 4 different rooms in a night, and he just started to have a name, so he could just walk up and do a 5-10 minute thing. And he was trying to work a couple things out. The one big thing I remember, there was a club in like North Hollywood, it's not like a comedy club, but they have a comedy night type thing. And his friend ran into, we went in, and he's a big guy. What is he, about 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah, but he lost a lot of weight.
He lost weight, but he's still, his shoulders are as wide as he is tall.
Back then though, because back then he was probably like 6'4", 260, 280 kind of a guy, right?
He's probably still 220,
Right. I mean, yeah, and there's only so much you could shave off of that, right?
And he could shoot like through sheet
metal.
Yeah,
his shots were scary.
And so, but I remember just one thing from his routine, same thing. It was mostly crowd work, but he's like always over the top excited. He's like, monkeys on tricycles, very funny. Monkeys with funny hats, hilarious. Monkeys chasing you, not fucking funny. And it's just, I always remembered Dr. Katz. That's what he had done. He had just done a Dr. Katz.
Oh, wow.
And it was getting a lot of buzz from that and stuff like that. So I guess he's still out there. I didn't know if he ever shows up at Paul's different nights or you run into him anywhere else.
No, I have not seen him in many, many years.
He's Vancouver. I think it was Western Canada.
I think so, yeah. I think that's correct.
And he had a friend who came down who he would bring out to hockey who wouldn't be able to play because he's not that good, because he was Ian, and so Ian was good enough to physically, carry him as well as.
My friend's gonna play with us. Okay,
yeah, whatever. So I would, anybody from F&H or any of our other friends, Ian Bagg, Bagg, Amazon Prime, I would definitely check it out.
He's your bag, baby.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is my bag. It's not on the list, but we're going to talk about this. So, as I've said before on the podcast, Joe and I are making an effort to watch stuff together, and it's been going on for a little while. I think it was about a little over a year ago. I think you were gassed.
Almost a year now. Almost
a year.
Everybody get going.
But Joe, I don't want to say. Oh no! You see, it's pre-pandemic. Time means nothing. Joe was aghast that I had never seen the Goonies. And so we ended up going to the drive-in together and seeing the Goonies and Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Took pictures with the car. And it's one of those things that's like, wait a minute. Look who directed it. One of the main guys is wearing a Superman shirt.
I think Jaws was also playing, right?
On the theater behind us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it was on the theater, the screen behind us.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, wait, how did that not be something that not only have you seen 1,000 times. And then one day, I think I made the mistake of maybe saying, yeah, I don't think I've actually seen Back to the Future 2 in its entirety. It was after we did a podcast. And Joe's like, you're going to watch it now? I don't think the credits were rolling. And then you're like, so let's watch 3. And we did. And so we started, it's like, there's some movies that Joe was too young for that, came out when, or not too young, because obviously he's seen The Jerk and all those. But it's like, what are movies that we both love that we haven't watched together, or we haven't watched together enough, or that I love that you know about that you should really watch, and vice versa. That said, a few weeks ago, we watched Young Frankenstein, which was amazing. It was
Frankenstein.
They told you wrong then, didn't they? And then then it was great because I didn't know this. Like Joe, has me fall. He didn't so much push me down the rabbit hole, but showed me where it is, and I threw myself into it. I didn't know there were all these outtakes online and the behind the scenes stuff, and we ended up watching an hour of stuff of that. But last weekend we watched. What did we watch? We watched The Little Kids in the Hall. Highly recommend it. And then we watched Austin Powers.
Yes.
The Spy That Shagged Me.
No.
The first one.
The first one. Okay,
International Man and Mystery.
Master Man and Mystery. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
why don't you talk a little bit
about
God,
it's the 1997 classic that we all, as, middle-aged guys and of a certain era, would quote incessantly upon hearing such funny lines. It starred, of course, Mike Myers from Saturday Night Live. And just an off-the-wall, when I saw like on like Comedy Central or something like before the movie came out, I remember seeing the behind the scenes footage of like, the underground lair and, Austin Powers in this get up trying to shoot his way out of this, madcap scene. And I'm like, I know what they're making fun of, but no one else is going to get this. This is going to bomb. It's only for me. I'm going to go into a theater by myself. Turns out way wrong. It's for everybody. And little did I know how closely it was actually like parodying specific things like In Like Flint and Casino Royale, the original Woody Allen Casino Royale. Yeah, it was just it's such a quotable movie, and it's obviously like it has some it deals with subject matter that may not be suitable for 2022 viewers. So we would decided to just go into it with an open mind, thinking, a lot of this is probably going to still hold up, and it did.
It's a lot, I mean, the catchphrases.
There's a stop button on that thing.
The catchphrases, which they'll just absolutely last forever. Oh, behave.
Well, you know what? Actually, just backtrack a little bit. We started watching The Blues Brothers.
Yes,
and there's the opening scene, which is actually very drawn out. It's very like I forgot how slow that movie started. It's the prison scene, and then Frank Oz insisted you see the entire state of Indiana or Illinois rather, because like it just pans out for miles and miles, and you see the workout, the prisoners working out in the yard and all that stuff, and you see John Belushi just walking down this path for it had to have been like 20 minutes.
It's like the first 10 minutes of Stripes, arguably some of the best 10 minutes of filmmaking from like the Marx Brothers on.
Yeah.
The first 10 minutes of the Blues Brothers, it's like
it's a slog. So then they get to Frank Oz and they get to the scene. Frank Oz is playing the officer behind the desk that's going to return the belongings of John Belushi to John Belushi as he's now free from prison. And it reminded me of the scene in Austin Powers where Austin Powers is going through all of his things after he's been unfrozen, and then they come upon his penis pump. What's that doing in there?
That? Swedish penis pump.
Yes, that's on my bag, baby.
That sort of thing's not my bag.
Right. One warranty card for a Swedish penis pump filled out by Austin Powers. One book.
That's a kill.
How do you?
Yeah. Swedish penis pumps and me. This sort of thing is my bag, baby. Written by Austin Powers.
But the misogyny, the homophobia, we're looking at each other like the dance number and the breaking the fourth wall is fantastic. But so much of it, it's like, oh my God, that's like you couldn't
stop laughing.
Possibly stop laughing. No, but it was great. It's like. So it is. It's been this fun thing that Joe and I have been doing. Sometimes it devolves into us just watching Paul Lynde on Match Game from 1973. But
Biff, what is a must-see movie of yours that maybe we haven't talked about or touched upon on the podcast? Is there like some, some cultural touchstone that
cultural touchstone?
Yeah,
yeah. If you want something that's a cultural touchstone one, it's probably there's a movie called Tampopo, which is a Japanese movie. It's basically they assemble this storyline like a spaghetti western, but it involves this widow who is trying to run her dead husband's old ramen shop, and these guys come in and say, "Yeah, this is garbage," and essentially these guys come and help her out, just like like these all of these cowboys come into town to save the kind of the distressed town. That's kind of like this central story, but there's a whole lot of these. They go into these little tangents, but it's really well made. Has some wacky food related sex scene, which is
sold.
It's sold, and then the very ending is also kind of somewhat disturbing, and it's kind of sexual, but maybe not. And it's it was a highly regarded movie that I actually saw in college. So culturally, that would be one. But I mean, of my kids, when I was a kid, it's like, it's really the Godzilla movies, right? I mean, that's freaking calling on destroy all monsters is like
that. Actually,
that's the one.
Is a good point because I'm not a big kaiju.
Yeah.
I'm not a kaiju fan.
Yeah.
I would see Creature Double Feature on TV 56 in Boston in the 70s and 80s, and I'd be like, let's see what cartoons are playing. Oh, hey, it's Porky Pig.
Yeah.
I would do that. But maybe a Godzilla movie might be on tap.
Yeah, if you were out to visit it was going to be you, Joe, and I watching something. What is like the one Godzilla movie where you're like, you got to see either because it's the most campy, it's the most ridiculous, or one that it's just really great. Like
well,
I gave Joe a list. Like one of the movies that I'm gonna have Joe. I'm gonna watch with Joe. I don't know if we've seen Slapshot, but Butch Cassidy is a movie that.
Oh yeah,
I could.
That's a great movie.
And it's funny, but it's not like a Tommy Boy, which we
Right.
usually watch. But what's one movie, Biff, that you'd be like, okay, you apologize before you start it because you're like, I'm going to quote this about a half a second before everybody says something because I can't not do it. If you have
no. I'm not that guy. So like that's never been the way I did movies. So yeah, I can't think of anything like that. But if it's essentially if it's I always think in terms of if it's Godzilla, it's destroy all monsters. Just because as a kid it had all the monsters. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe my most exposure to kaiju movies would be through Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah.
Hey,
wait, you didn't see Pacific Rim?
Oh yeah,
haven't seen Pacific Rim?
Atlantic Rim. I saw Atlantic Rim on
Atlantic
Rim on Mystery Science Theater.
Did you ever see that? Like when they did the
I heard
when they did the reboot. What's the name of the company that does all those?
Oh, Asylum Pictures.
Asylum Picture. We watched Atlantic Rim, and it was
oh my god.
I can't even say awful stuff. Like I really want to be an actor, so that I don't have to, little random strangers to survive and get my meth. Or I can be third lead in Atlantic Rim. I better get up my knee pads.
I played Panic Idiot number 3 in Atlantic Rim. We're looking for more of a duh idiot. Anyway, Simpsons reference.
Like what do you call movies like? Because like when we were growing up, we had those those B movies, right?
Yeah.
And these aren't really B movies, right? I mean, it's kind of a different animal, I think, right? So
yeah, they're like Z movies. They're just they're pretty. I mean, yeah. I mean, Asylum. I think were they also behind? They weren't behind Sharknado, were they?
I think they might have.
Maybe they started with Sharknado and then they got way too much money and power. Like you got to wonder, like what kind of weird black market drug money is being funneled through these movies.
Those, right?
Yeah. Some tax evasion scheme.
So the next trip you happen to be out this way, we'll have to put a list together to watch something. And the funny thing, like I was saying, the quoting the lines, and I've said this 1,000 times, and it's funny because when I forget what we were about to watch, maybe it was Young Frankenstein, and Joe's like, "I'm sorry that I can't help quoting this." I'm like, dude, that's enjoyment for me. I mean, I know it drives some people up a wall when I do it because I can't not do it when you watch like, The Jerk or Caddyshack or something like that. I absolutely find it so endearing. And I'm a little surprised. I thought I was going to get more recognition and compliments when I went to Phoenix. The wife got me a Bushwood Country Club caddy T-shirt like you wore in the movie that I wore all over the facility,
Yeah, Bushwood doesn't carry the same prestige as it once did.
No, it doesn't,
The bloom is off the rose.
So,
or Bush.
A couple weeks ago when we recorded Biff, I played the old trope. I said, the prove me wrong thing. And I said what I firmly believe, and I've said it before, and it's getting more true. I said to you, the GOP is a terrorist organization. Prove me wrong. And we laughed a little bit about it. Have you at all followed the January 6th hearing over the last week?
God, it is, the amount of details that's coming out in terms of all of that coordination and all of the pre-work and all the pre-planning that actually, was involved is just staggering. I mean, it really, I mean, it's just staggering, right? I mean,
well, the thing is, we from the day it happened, as it was going on, when the National Guard didn't show up, when the riot police didn't show up, when these, certain congressmen, like later that day, were saying, the first 6 months I worked here, I had trouble finding my office, but yet some people knew how to get from point A to point B. And there was all those rumors that, like, how did they know? How much inside help did they get? How much of this was a spontaneous event and how much of it was planned? And then as these hearings have been going on, all those myths and rumors and did it really happen? Because no, it couldn't have been that malicious. It couldn't have been that well thought out. There would have to have been so many people in on this to actually make it what it was. And then as these hearings are going on and more people are saying, yeah, this was exactly the intent, that this is exactly how it was planned. You know, it's like when people say the system's broken, it's like, no, the system's working exactly how it's meant to work.
All you needed was Han Solo to go, all of it is true. All of it. You know, like basically, everything you thought was every conspiracy theory about this attack is definitely. It takes a lot of, what is it? It takes a lot of
planning to make a coincidence.
Yeah.
And it all points to the guy at the top. The guy at the top orchestrated this whole thing.
Yes.
The whole thing. And all the people around
commander in thief. Am I right?
Thank you. Including his daughter under sworn testimony. It's like, yeah, and the scary thing is all the testimony that no one who needs to hear it is going to hear it, because I was telling Joe earlier, I was waiting for my kid to get out of an event. I was going to be sitting there for like 10 minutes, and I do it now and then. Do it now and then. I'm like, I wonder what's on the Fox, like the website. Fox News. No, I really, you know, and it's usually, it's like, you know, Jim Jordan convicted of this. So I'll go to see how Fox handle it. It's like, but what about our emails? You know, Biff, there was nothing. And I mean, I scrolled down. There's absolute people who only watch Fox or read Fox News have no idea these hearings are even going on, let alone the fact that, you know, his daughter is saying flat out, it's like, yeah, that night when the big steal was hatched, Bill Barr said, no, it's bullshit. You lost. And here's Ivanka saying, yeah, I believed Bill Barr. Like, you know, it's like even the people closest to him aren't like flipping, you know, but they're, you know, under oath saying, yeah, this was all by design. This big steal never happened. We knew it never happened. We knew that night he lost. We knew it was going to be by a landslide. And this whole big steal thing is just a bunch of bullshit. But the scary thing is it's a bunch of bullshit with legs, and it's going to carry them through the next 30, 40 years of power.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't want to be all doom and gloom.
I think you underestimate the power of the dark side.
It's funny because that line by Han Solo in The Force Awakens, next to I know is my favorite line when he's like, yeah, the blah, blah, blah.
The Force, and
then he's like,
Jedi. All of it's true. All of it.
Yeah. You know, it's just, even when you're saying it,
you get the chills.
Chills. You really, you know, that guy, you keep your eye on that Harrison Ford.
Indiana Jones 5, baby.
I think he's going to go.
But you know what? But don't jump in a plane with him, though.
No.
I'll jump out of a plane.
So my favorite thing is, because what has he had? 3 plane crashes? I know he's had at least 2.
Something more than one.
They were more like skirmishes. They weren't really crashes.
And my favorite thing, there's a golf course between.
It's alternate landing.
Right.
That's what it was. Alternate landing.
There's a golf course in Burbank right between Universal and Warner Brothers, and that's where he had a single engine, like had to set down his plane there a few years ago. My favorite meme was like they photoshopped the Millennium Falcon halfway through the ground. They took out his plane, and it's like, what under the category of a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then, or a clock bean, the unlikely heroes of the moment who are complete assholes. Liz Cheney is a festering piece of shit that voted 99, like I think her voting record with the last administration was like 98, 99% of the time.
Disloyal, I say.
But at least now she's saying the right things. And it turns out that Pence actually, their plan was so methodical that, Pence actually could have done. And all this time we're saying, no, there's no way he couldn't have done this. He could. And it's like, Mike Pence actually could have made a bad situation a lot
But there's
worse.
that whole thing where, like, he would not go into the Secret Service car because he thought he was going to die. Right?
How fucked up is that? But and the same thing. It's like up until just very recently, he's still been, we had a miscommunication that day, but it's all out in the open. And the funny thing is, listening to all the testimony, it wasn't like he went in thinking, I'm an American. This is against my values. This is against the Constitution. I can't do this. He had talked to a number of people like, hey, can I do this? And he couldn't find one person outside of that small bubble. You know, what vice president was it? It wasn't Al Gore. I'm trying to think of who was it. It was like, dude, that's fucking crazy. You can't do that. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I can't do that. But Mike Pence.
Al Gore? Is it Gore?
I don't
know.
Cheney?
It might have been. It was somebody that you wouldn't think. It's like, dude, no, you can't do that. It was, but Mike Pence wasn't this great patriot. And when it came time to do the right thing, he did the right thing. So he gets some credit for that. But he was trying to find a way. Is it legal? Can I do this? Or do I get in trouble if I do it and it doesn't work? It's one of those things.
Yeah, he had an open mind.
I think Liz Cheney's thing is a little bit different from the standpoint of, I feel like she kind of, and this is just my guess, but like she has a certain sense of history. And like you look back at things like, the McCarthy hearings and the Watergate hearings and all that. And it's like, this might be her thing. I'm going to be remembered as the person who was principled and stood up to Trump. Because if you look at all these other people who are like, you know nothing else about some of these people, right? You just know that one thing that they did. Maybe she's hoping that I'm going to be in the history books as the person who stood up against this, whatever.
Maybe she's doing the calculus of, well, as a state rep and then as a senator, I voted against marriage equality, even though I have a lesbian sister who was trying to get married.
Right.
People will forget that if I do the other piece of shit organization faction that is doing the right thing, Walmart just in the past couple of days have said no, we're not.
Yeah, but
come on, guy. Yeah, we're done.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't. Once again, Walmart's not doing this out of like some kind of a sense of justice. They're doing it because the shit doesn't sell.
That's
right?
True. Yeah, of course.
Is that really what it was?
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, it's an economic thing, right? I mean, probably. I'm guessing it's like, who's gonna buy that shit?
Well, it's kind of like when I guess Walmart at some point when the Black Lives Matter protests started, that's when Walmart decided to stop like selling guns in certain stores, not because out of a sense of justice, but because, hey, we don't want these rioters going into rioters, quote unquote. Right. We don't want these people going into our stores.
You're being
people
and buying our guns or getting our
cryptic.
guns. Yeah,
like you're talking
and using these guns against us. So it's kind of like they're
talking Swedish people.
Yes,
Norwegians, the Belgians.
I'm trying right. Nobody will expect
such appropriate conversations. As we are approaching Juneteenth, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Happy Juneteenth. This is actually dropping on.
Yes,
Juneteenth.
it will drop on Happy Juneteenth. Yeah. So we should talk about. Is it? This is the first year or the second year? It's an actual national federal. I think.
What's funny about the federal holiday is that I work at an organization that isn't taking it off.
Really?
And I'm also working. There are several. I mean, it's it's spotty. It's not like 4th of July yet.
It's not. It's funny.
Probably because it's so close to 4th of July.
I've been telling people that if you're not sure, you just have to go up to your boss. It's like, hey, do we have Juneteenth off, or are you a racist?
Right.
What? Oh no, I'm not judging. I just want to know, do I have it off? Or are you a racist? Okay, I'm working. Okay, all
right. I'm wondering if I could do that. It's like Asian American History Month. Can I take a month off? I mean, I wonder if I could do that. Or are you racist?
The whole month?
The whole month. Yeah,
go for it.
Yeah,
Michael Che. The whole month.
Michael Che has a funny line about Juneteenth. Where he basically says, like, I think I told you this, where he goes, white people celebrating Juneteenth is like a guy celebrating the day he stopped hitting his wife. It's like, and you know what? There's a grain of truth in that.
Yeah, that's why it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
it's funny, because it's true.
So Biff, did you put this on the rundown? Did you put a YouTube clip under This Week in Crime, or is that from the last rundown?
No, it's a new one.
I couldn't get to it.
I'm trying to click the link on my paper, and it's not working. I don't know.
Really? It's so weird.
It should open.
So break it down.
So the thing is, in Japan they take traffic violations seriously, and when I say traffic violations, we're talking about cyclists. So they literally have police stationed as strategic locations to bust cyclists violating traffic laws, and you can actually get tickets for it. So the kind of the lower level violations, like, so if they consider, just like in this country, right? A bicycle is considered like a car. You're supposed to follow the car's traffic, whatever, right? So if you go through a red light, then what they'll come in and kind of give you a ticket. Now it could be like a little warning thing, but then they could actually give you what they call the red ticket, in which you actually have to essentially pay a fine and appear in court. Like, and then when you go to court, they'll tell you what the actual fine is, right?
That sucks.
No, so it gets
so
better.
You pay an entry fee to get into the court.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
like, this is the cover charge for you to get the real fine.
Right.
The VIP room.
Yeah.
And so I think the link should work, because I'm seeing whatever to the link. But anyway, so the other thing though is that if you have 2 of these red tickets, like within a 3-year period, then you actually have to go to traffic school, like for cycling. It's like cycling violations. So 2 things though. The thing, and I would say just watch any, like, first 2 minutes of it, because I think the link is good.
Okay.
These cyclists will, basically, like, the 2 patterns that they show, they go through a red light, and so, like, you know how Japanese big crosswalks are, like, you go through a red light, and then all these people are, like, gazillion people crossing across these wide crosswalks, right? So that's obviously a dangerous situation. And on the other side of that, police is kind of waiting, or they would wait at railway crossings. So as those arms come down to say that the train's coming, if you go through that thing as the arm's coming down, they'll stop you. So I'm watching this, and these policemen would blow the whistle, put their hand up, and say, "Hey, excuse me," and then the cyclists stop. Now, if the police try to do that in this country, you're gonna get that the one finger salute, and off the cyclist goes. It's not like the police is gonna go running after them, because these police officers, they're on foot, like they're not on vehicles or anything. They, like, these actually people just stop.
I wouldn't stop.
It's like, right? It's like the middle finger. See ya, right? Right? Hilarious.
Did you see the clip that I sent you this week about that BBC show that I told you that chronicles people in? Did you know about that phenomenon in Japan?
So I did not. But you know what's funny? So I didn't know about it. So I actually did a Google search in Japanese to see, about this. And the first thing that came up was a tweet from some dude that says, "Hey, there's a BBC show on how, like, these companies help you disappear." It's like, well, this isn't helpful. And it, like, I literally on just a quick search, not something that I could find. I'm guessing that you go to those in Japan, they have this thing called 2chan. It's kind of one of those, like
a torrent site,
right? Like these Reddit-ish kind of sites, right? These whatever, right? These alternate whatever sites or whatever you want to call
it.
The
dark web.
Well, not too dark. I mean, nothing.
The dim
like
web.
the dimwit. So I think if I go through there, I'm probably going to find something, right? But I actually did not find anything off. But yeah, I had not ever heard of it. Although, like, disappearing in Japan is, like, not that uncommon. Like, people just kind of do that shit. So,
see, the old me would make a joke about.
You see, I would have trouble disappearing in Japan myself.
Yep.
If I go there, it's kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah. How'd that Venice Beach homeless guy get here? No, I would get, but oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking into, is that something we can develop? The projects I'm doing with our good friend Ronick. It's like, okay, what's the next step with that? So do you, Joe, while you're here, what video games are you wearing, Mr. I have an Atari shirt on as I speak?
I'm wearing an Atari shirt. You can see with your eyeballs.
Yes.
What video games am I playing? Nothing really. No, I've kind of taken some time off of gaming for a little bit.
Time with your family.
But I am excited, and I just can't hide it, about the new, there's a new sequel video game coming out to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. Do you remember? That beat 'em up game?
Yeah.
So there's a new game now. I think it's out on like the Switch and on PC or whatever digitally. It's out now called Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and it's like a 6-player beat 'em up instead of just a 4-player.
Wow.
It has like all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle characters like Casey Jones and
April O'Neil.
April O'Neil. Like you could play as all like these like awesome like characters from the cartoon. It's done in the 16-bit arcade style.
Oh, that's great.
It has like a great soundtrack. It looks fantastic. It has a story mode. I'm really kind of excited about this stupid Ninja Turtles game, but I might actually buy it.
So we not see you
That's
for a few
cool.
weeks.
Right, exactly. Instead of looking for a house or a place to live, I'm going to be it's going to be pizza time for Joe. Cowabunga, dude.
Japanese guys who disappears with a switch.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to just disappear into my basement.
So I just heard today that Resident Evil is going to be relaunch or reissuing Resident Evil 4, a game that came out in 2005, which I liked. I mean, it's not top 3 favorite games for me. It's our friend, Chris, who's been on the podcast, who's our Resident Evil expert. His one and only child is named after the main protagonist and the Resident Evil, Empire, you know what I mean? Wesker. So he, so that was his favorite game.
That's really dumb, naming your child after fictional characters.
Yeah,
that's so dumb.
Some kind of piece of shit.
Right. It's like naming your kid Jesus.
Right? Thank you.
Triggered much?
3, 4.
Wait. I have a Jesus story.
Okay.
Oh.
So, Jesus story. So,
Jacques,
there was that.
I was going to say, Jacques has many Jesus stories
That's
he
true.
loves to tell at the top of podcasts. But you go.
So I don't know. If there was. I can't remember the name of the movie, but there was a movie regarding some like a white dude kind of hitting up with with a Latina chick, and then I guess one of her brothers was named Jesus, but he goes by Chewy, and apparently that's a standard nickname. And so,
interesting.
Yeah, I did not know this, and this is how horrible I am. There was a guy I knew at work, and his name was, Jesus, and they all called him Chewy. And I thought, well, that's really offensive because the dude kind of looked like, Chewbacca. And I'm thinking, these people are such dicks. They're just like in his face calling him freaking Chewbacca. And it turns out that I was the racist dick, not knowing. It's like, wow.
Well, we're going to have to
I am.
take some
that's my Jesus story
from Carnival personnel and send Biff back to sensitivity
I was
training.
going to say, I hope they gave you some of that sensitivity.
Hey, I am corporately required to take, sensitivity training like twice a year. So
I gave this a recorder just now some sensitivity training before we started recording. A little inside joke there for our Carnival personnel.
I think for me.
Yes.
I think for me.
And Biff.
So getting back to the game, so I'm going to have to, in March of next year, break down and get a PS5 because it's only going to be released for the PS5, and
they should be available by then.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I've seen them now, but I'm like, I don't need it.
There's not a lot of killer apps for it.
Still playing Resident Evil.
Exactly. I'm still playing the Nintendo Entertainment System. For
You're
Christ's
playing
sake.
a 16-bit thing on the Switch. Hopefully,
I know. Seriously, I just want make old games for new stuff.
It's funny because a couple weeks ago we watched Uncharted with Tom Holland, and it's great. And it's like, my now 14-year-old, I'm going to say when he was 10 and 11 or when he was 11 and 12, like 2 years in a row, went out as Nathan Drake, it was Halloween. And he was so excited that, they're making a movie. It wasn't, when he started playing like Uncharted, it wasn't panned. But most people are like, oh, it's a knockoff Tomb Raider. It's a knockoff Tomb Raider. And I've seen him play it, and it's great. And it's a knockoff Tomb Raider.
But it's a guy.
But it's completely different.
He has no boobs.
None whatsoever.
But he looks a lot like Nathan Fillion.
He does look like Nathan Fillion. And it was fun. It's fun in these movies. There's one scene that's a kind of a throwaway-ish scene, but Tom Holland washes up on a beach and he's walking by somebody and it's like, you have a rough day? It's like, and the guy's like, oh, I've been through a couple things like that. And it's the guy who does the voice.
Oh,
the games.
Right. Did you, speaking of Nathan Fillion and Uncharted, did you see the fan film from 5 years ago?
It
where
was great.
Nathan Fillion.
And he's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
But they went with if they do anyways, an older one, but Tom Holland, this is kind of like the prequel type thing, which is fun because my little guy liked it. He was into the movie, but he wasn't loving it. And then there's a scene where by chance he accidentally winds up with the 2 iconic holsters that Nathan Drake wears. Mm-hmm. And the look of his face is like the first time you see the cape and cowl. Like the first time you see the cape, you know what I mean? Any one of those things, it's like, oh, then he loved it. And then, in the game, kind of his handler, his mentor type guy is older and is always chomping on a cigar and has a mustache. It's played by clean-shaven Mark Wahlberg. And they part ways at the end of the movie, but they're, it's like 6 months later and Mark Wahlberg's kind of trying to be in disguise and he walks in and he has the mustache and the cigar. It's
so there's definite nods to the game.
It was great.
Yeah, right.
That said, my old and now 14, who used to love that, for the last year has been playing a game, The Last of Us. Do you know that one, Joe?
Oh yeah, I played both The Last of Us 1 and 2.
Guess what's now becoming a movie?
No, it's a series on
it's
HBO.
a
series on HBO Max.
Oh, great!
Yeah, that's been.
Oh, great! Another HBO Max thing that I can't watch.
Get HBO Max, you cheap son of a bitch.
Actually, I might when the hockey season's over and I don't have to have the full Hulu.
Which we'll get to that a bit. Yeah, so it's fun. You know what?
By the way, I was actually saying. When I said get HBO Max, you cheap son of a bitch, I was saying it to Jacques because he's using my HBO Max account.
So. Do you guys know a game called Dead by Daylight?
Listening to this,
Nobody's
HBO
listening to
or
this.
Max could be listening. No, they got a bot going through the algorithm just to hear if the phrase shared password comes out.
I don't think we show up on that algorithm. I think we fly under the algorithm. You were saying, Biff? No, I'm sorry.
So do you know a game called Dead by Daylight?
Yeah.
My son plays that a lot. He loves it.
Oh, interesting. Well, so I don't know if I think it's only in Japan, but I guess. In the Japanese version, there's like a kind of a collaboration, I guess, thing that they did where the creepy girl from The Ring apparently is involved in the game.
Yes,
and I'm thinking that sounds super creepy.
Yeah, no, I think all your killers from all your things are in it.
Wow,
I think it's a hodgepodge.
It's kind of like a Super Smash Brothers of like horror.
Thank you.
Icons.
It's basically the whatchamacallits, right?
The Expendables,
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods. Yeah. Oh my god,
right? So great,
good movie,
so great.
What a fantastic movie!
And I talked about this before, and I can't hear that movie without telling the story that management and I went to see it. It was one of those days where it's like a Tuesday or Wednesday. She had the day off. She wanted to see it. That's not my thing, but okay, I'll go see it. And we're sitting in the movie theater. And after about 5 minutes, she makes me leave to go make sure we walked into the right theater because the way it starts off, it's as obvious, nothing to do with this.
Right.
And I did it. I looked up, like, we're in the right fucking theater. And it wasn't like 10, 15 minutes later that it starts to come through. So, so the Boston Celtics didn't win their championship the other day. And it turns out it's feeling more and more with Brady and Tampa Bay winning championships, and us. We're back to being the city of almost champions.
Are the Red Sox any good?
I don't know.
I don't follow.
They started. Neither do I. Just enough where they start off horrible, but they're doing okay. But I'm looking for. Nope, don't give a fuck. I was looking to.
You were looking for the fuck,
and there's not.
You had no fucks to give.
Not a one.
God damn it!
I gave it away.
Right.
I'm so clueless about basketball that one of the games, game 4, game 3, when Boston contested a defensive a defensive foul that they got, and it's one of those deals where I think I opened the ESPN app for some reason and said, "Oh," and the game just kind of comes on because I have the Hulu ESPN thing. So it's just going. So I said, "Oh, it's already on. I might as well watch. There's like a minute left. I'll watch the rest of it." And I discovered, hey, there's reviewing basketball now. I had no idea.
I didn't. I literally until that happened. Because I don't. The only game I've ever watched in the past 20 years from start to finish was in Phoenix. We're another Bostonian transplant. The Blind Squirrel Ruger. Patty and a few others. We were at the Scottsdale Plaza bar and we watched it. And by watched it, I mean
It was on.
No, it instantly came back, all the anxiety. And basketball sucks. You truly, I mean, and it's funny, they were up by 15 points with 4 minutes left. Everyone's like, oh, it's over. It's like, yeah, they were up by 15 points with 2 minutes left. The last game, lost by 10. Like, in an almost infinitesimal amount of time.
Yeah, the wheels can come off real quick. I think the most basketball I've watched this year was on Winning Time.
And how great was that?
Very good.
I hope they do. I hope Winning Time season 2.
I didn't think they could pull it off a second time, but you know what?
They did.
They proved me wrong.
They better stop making the Civil
Well, now they're going to do an actual documentary, though, right? I heard.
There is a documentary called Magic that's already on, I think, Apple TV Plus.
Okay.
It's Magic funded, I believe.
No, yeah, but yeah, right. It's about Magic
Right.
Johnson. And I think it's called Magic or
Right.
Magic Time or something like that.
Right.
So Biff, what's happening in the world of NHL? It's almost over. Well,
It's almost Colorado, Tampa. Colorado wins the first game. They were down. They were up 3-1, 2-0, 3-1, and Tampa storms back, ties the game, but they lose it in overtime. But it's like one of those things where you're watching the game, and Colorado seems so much faster and so much better, and yet, this happens, and it's like that team is like that team that you just can't kill. It's like they just don't go away.
Like the Republican Party.
oh,
Hi-oh! You came for the biting commentary, but stay for the comedy.
It's the thing about it is that they went into Florida and they swept the team that had the best record in the NHL, like 4 straight games.
Yeah.
And then they went to New York, and New York, wins the first 2 games, and then everybody's like, oh yeah, the Rangers, and then they just kind of calmly wins 4 in a row again. So it's like, I don't know if they're gonna pull that same stuff, but it's they're kind of scary good still.
You don't have a horse in this race, but who are you pulling for? I'm guessing the Avs.
I am pulling for the Avs, mostly not because I have any hatred towards and I kind of like the whole concept of dynasties in general, right? I mean, it's kind of a cool concept, but I am pulling for the Avs for one singular player, one Jack Johnson, a former King, who is
yes.
So he, when he was a LA King in 2012, and at the trade deadline, or just before the trade deadline, he was traded away to Columbus of all places, and basically was not on the Stanley Cup champion LA Kings. So he did not get to win the challenge.
So it's one of those things where he was part of the team through this magic run, and just weeks before doesn't get traded to a team that's, well, I'll go there and at least I'll have a shot. Gets traded. Columbus at the time, I think, were they at the minor league affiliate of a Siberian hockey team?
They were actually decidedly mediocre because Bobrovsky was a good goalie back then. But still,
and the Kings go on to win the cup. So you get traded off the team, and you're part of the
not going to get that ring.
But then it gets worse. Yeah,
you got to tell Joe that wasn't the worst thing going on in his life at the time.
What was the worst thing going on in his life?
So 2 years later, it comes out that his parents basically spent all his money. And he's bankrupt.
What? Not only spent all his money,
what, they still have a joint checking account with that is?
I mean, he had basically had creditors because essentially, they just completely mismanaged his money. And it's one of those deals where, it's those parents that said, well, you know what, we did all this for you, you owe us, kind of a thing.
I mean, they bought houses in his name, had him co-sign or forged his name to, and it was one of those things where, based on what he was making as a player at that time, he would have to play another 12 years to break even. Like he was, and he was financial. He's getting paid like $1 million and a half a year at the time, completely couch surfing, nearly homeless because his parents fucked him.
I mean, he had to basically, so they're restraining order against his own parents, all that stuff.
I was going to say, did they die in a fire at least? Is there a happy ending to this story?
That works.
So I'm glad that, he's somebody you would love to see get
fired. Something good, right, out of this career, right? Yeah. So, for that one singular guy.
And you know what? I will never forgive Florida.
No.
So fuck them.
Yes.
Fuck them right in the ass.
Thank you.
Fuck them right in their penis. Whatever that thing that looks the penis of America.
I mean,
Get herpes and die.
I'm looking into it. Is there any way we can give Florida back to Spain?
All I keep thinking about is that part of Bugs Bunny where he's sawing off Florida.
And it floats away.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It is.
One can dream.
You know, like maybe there's a fault on the other side that, Lex Luthor can, install some bombs along, that.
Is there an Otisburg in Florida?
Otisburg in Florida.
Otisburg?
Otisburg?
Oh, see? Why didn't we do a self-indulgence? Just that.
Yeah.
You delivered that.
Yeah.
I thought Gene Hackman
Miss
was
Tessmacher!
Yeah.
Oh, you're the best.
Yes.
So the wife texts me a sports thing this morning. She's like, FIFA is coming to Boston in 2026. And I remembered this. Basically, the Olympics and FIFA are having trouble with people ponying up billions of dollars to host their events because it bankrupts countries.
Yes.
There's nothing.
They're running out of countries.
They happened to be a few years behind the Olympics. They kind of figured it out like, 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I remember like the last, Olympic thing, they awarded 2 at once. They're like, because if this country doesn't get this one, they're going to not want to do the next one. So we better lock those fuckers in now. And this World Cup is in Qatar, which it was 10 years ago they got it awarded. Having been in the country while they were building up for this, it's fucking insane. Granted, they have almost endless money, but
I think there's still wet concrete in the stadiums where they're still building for the Qatar World Cup.
I mean, don't forget, it's like, the Sochi Olympics, they were truly or building the places, the Olympic Village while the athletes were getting there to compete. They weren't the rooms. Anyways. Ugh. So what FIFA is doing for 2026, it's a North American thing, and I think there's something like 16 cities.
Oh my god,
that are hosting.
Yeah. So, coincidentally, I took a tour of the new SoFi Stadium, the home of the LA Rams and Chargers, yesterday.
Oh.
So that's one of the sites.
Was it nice?
It was actually. I went in. There's, I've been inside of these stadiums before. Yeah, it was actually. I mean, it was a 2-hour tour, and it went like fast, but. It was really fascinating. What
put that together? What got you in the car and drive over to England?
Yeah, so no, it was actually a company event where they said, we were doing an LA area, because everybody's kind of remote, but we have a cluster of people in LA. So they said, we're going to have a LA event. And so we're going to have, SoFi Stadium tour and the dinner. And so, I went to that. It was, pretty cool. But, lots of these, all the stuff about, some of the stuff is okay. I don't really care about these, luxury suites and how they could convert it to, from a 20-seater to a 300-seater. Yeah, that's cool. But, I'm never going to see any of that. But a lot of technology was cool. The design and the just showing you how it was assembled was cool. But one of the things is that they're trying to get that last game, that finals at that stadium.
Right.
But they can't right now because, if they do get it, the condition of them getting it is that they have to plant grass there, and it's natural turf right now. So the guy goes, so if they get it, it'll be great, but it'll cost them $11 million to put grass in there.
Yeah.
So, okay.
No, and so I know, like I said, I think like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal have games.
Yeah.
New York, Boston. I think, like I said, 16 cities.
I think AT&T and Dallas has it too. I think, right?
Mexico City. There's 2 cities, maybe 3 cities in Mexico that are hosting games. So it's one of those things where it's like the North American World Cup. So it's not coming to Boston per se.
Yeah.
But it's going to be at Gillette. So
okay, I'm excited to go when we finally do. When I'm able to go cross country and remember we did that cross country tour of like different stadiums and stuff.
Yes.
I want to go visit the classic stadiums like crypto.com arena. I want to I want to take my kids to crypto.com arena.
Somebody posted I saw, I think my friend John or our friend John. Okay, Hold on a second, guys. Let me see it.
Look at it.
So,
Yeah.
no, it's funny because somebody sent me a meme. It's like Enron Stadium, like A beat Enron Stadium crypto. And I'm like, oh, this is funny. Funny in the way that democracy's falling and the world economy is crumbling, but funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Remember we almost had CSMG Field. Remember when like the banks were like
Shamit.
Oh yeah, the Shamit Center.
So when they built the new garden, the first people, this was a naming thing started to become big.
Okay.
It's like
and
94, 95.
94. And Shamit Bank plopped down an unthinkable, I want to say it was $10 million.
I think they put in literally all their money.
Right, because before the building was complete, Shamit was merged with another bank because they were a failing bank. It's like, maybe you wouldn't be failing if you weren't fucking going around. But anyways, yeah. So the crypto, I saw that. Where is that?
I don't know. I don't know where crypto
Arena is the Staples Center.
Is it?
Is it really?
It's Staples. They basically, they transferred the rights to essentially that arena from Staples to crypto.
How many people? How long will it take people to stop calling it the Staples Center?
Listen, it's hilarious because the LA Kings, broadcast crews still, were slipping up towards the end of the season because it was a mid-season switch. So we started the season as Staples, and I think on either December 1st or January 1st, it flipped over to crypto, and it's like, and old habits die hard, and so we're here at the Staples Center. Oh no!
Right. Well, I think eventually, that's happened with the Garden so many times.
Right. It was going to be called the Shamit Center, and everyone's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
You can call it the Shamit Center. It will always be the Garden.
I mean, it went through
Sorry.
It went through 10 different names.
Remember when they found the monkey bones?
Oh, God, yes.
When I went there the first time, I think it was called the Fleet Center.
Yeah.
The Fleet Bank took over.
Yep. Is Fleet still a bank?
Well, Fleet and Bay Bank, I think it used to be Bay Bank, and then Fleet bought it, and then they
bought
got cross-mogenated.
So Shamit, Fleet, and Bay Bank at one point or another, because Bobby Orr had done Bay Bank commercials for
Bay Bank,
for Bay, he was a big Bay Bank spokesperson locally for a couple decades.
Yeah, and then it was Fleet Center, and then now it's
but everyone calls it the Garden.
But the Gillette Stadium was going to be called CSMG Field or something like that. It was that was the early naming contender for Gillette Stadium. And by the way, Gillette Stadium rolls off the tongue. Luckily, it was named after a man, a human name. But it's also a corporation. It's not like Ebbets Field or something like that.
I know so many people.
I don't know. Was Ebbets? By the way, was Ebbets like a corporation too, or is that a guy?
No, he was this guy. I don't know. but they've tried to nickname Gillette the Razor. It's like,
what?
What? Scott Solak has been beating that drum for a very long.
Scott Solak?
He's just a dick.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. 100%. A front. Anyway,
call him the Lack or the Zoe.
Well, he goes by anyway. But yeah. So that's it in sport. What are you watching now that hockey's only on every other day and winding down, Biff?
I watched this show called Old Enough, where it's on Netflix. It's a Japanese show where they send these little toddlers.
They did a Saturday Night Live parody about that.
Did they? Okay.
With boyfriends.
With boyfriends, yes. Sending a boyfriend to what was it, a cosmetic store, like Sephora?
Yeah.
Getting but it was the same thing. They strap on the backpack, and then but go on. You were saying about Old Enough.
So and it's it kind of checks out. I mean, that's how kind of things are. My mom used to just send me out on random errands when I was 4 and 5. So yeah.
Well, it is to an American audience of modern times. It's kind of like, oh my God, that those parents would be arrested in America. They're not at the bus stop with their child.
There was a couple in Philadelphia, a 10-year-old brother took his 6-year-old brother to the park a half mile away, and the police came to the house because of neglect. It's it's my little guy when he was 5, he was 7, took his scooter, down to 7-Eleven, had to cross a major bridge in Lowell, go over like, 2 major streets to get there. It was like 4 miles there and back. And it's like, but we did that same thing. It's like my grandfather would give me money to go down to the corner store in Everett and stuff.
Packy.
Yes, you could. Your grandparents or parents could send you down to the corner store to buy cigarettes and booze for them because they knew everybody's kid. It's
Right.
like, oh, that's Al's kid. Yeah, he's fine. You know what I mean? It's like
Alcoholic.
oh yeah, you have no idea.
Oh, man.
But yeah. But what about you, Joe? What are you watching?
Oh God, not my weight, that's for sure.
Oh,
Man, am I packing it on? Old tubby fatty needs his candy.
Haven't-
But what am I watching? You know what? I'm watching Kenobi. I'm enjoying that. Me and the wife. We're watching Stranger Things, season 4, enjoying that as well.
as a couple or a family?
As a couple. My kids are 21 and 16, and they could give 2 shits about us now. They're like on their own, man. They're old enough. They're old enough to not want to watch TV with us. No, I mean, yeah, we don't watch a lot of stuff together. It's kind of sad and pathetic, but we'll work on that.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
That's why you're over here tonight.
Yeah,
watching
that's
with
right.
me. There you go.
That's the thing. When once this hockey is over, I'm going to resume watching this anime called The Demon Slayer with my son. So I will resume that thing because season 2 we watched a couple episodes, and it's just one of those things where it's been heavy hockey lately. So in about a week. Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention that I am looking forward to this week on Paramount Plus, another fine app.
A mountain of entertainment.
It is the pinnacle, I would say. The Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe movie.
Oh.
I am looking. It's a full-length feature film that's going to be streaming on the 23rd on Paramount Plus. I sound like a commercial because I love that. I love Beavis and Butthead.
And maybe it's me. It's one of those things. If I'm putting on a shirt, and as I go to put on the shirt, like your head's popping through, but just your forehead, and your arms are kind of scarecrowed out a little bit as you're putting on a shirt, or if my kid's putting on a shirt, getting dressed, like in the morning, we're getting like, put your shirt on, we got to go. Do you say, I'm Cornholio, I need pee-pee?
I'm Cornholio, I need teepee for my bumhole.
How often do you say that? That's one of the things that goes on my list. Every time I'm putting on a shirt and it gets stuck on the head and my hands up, I'm like, I'm Cornholio.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, when they rebooted when they did like the new Beavis and Butthead episodes like 10 years ago or something like that, those were great. The movie looks fantastic. The basic premise, I don't even know if you want me to spoil it for you. It's in the trailer. They're sentenced by a judge to space camp in the 90s. They get launched into space and enter a wormhole that brings them to 2022.
That's great.
And there you have it. Comedy and
I'll take it.
You guys probably remember even the episode David Letterman with a Mike Judge, where essentially Mike Judge explains how he does the voice. And I just remember him talking about how, like, with Butthead, well, what you're doing is just releasing the strength off of your stomach. So he goes, and like all you're doing is just releasing the strength off that thing off your stomach. That's the Butthead laugh. It's like he's doing this explanation of how he does the voices is great.
Letterman loved Beavis and Butthead so much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he had that imposed on there, right?
Yeah, and
yeah,
he was the voice of Butthead's father in the Beavis and Butthead Do America movie. So there's a scene where they go to the desert and they run into these 2 older guys who, went through Kirkland, Texas, or wherever they were living, that fake town. And they had sex with some sluts back in the 60s or 70s, and they're Beavis and Butthead's illegitimate parents or fathers. But David Letterman is Butthead's father.
That is fantastic,
and it's so good. It's great. And he lights a campfire fart with. He lights a campfire with his fart, and goes up into like a big mushroom cloud, and it's. You got to see Beavis and Butthead do America, by the way.
Yeah.
It's that is the pinnacle of entertainment.
Okay.
God damn it. Why are we doing this podcast though? We should be watching Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, like the original shows are kind of like how MST3K were to a lot of people, right? Because like I know all the videos and I know, the stuff that it's like that's really that was my MST3K.
Yeah, they would watch music videos. That's the stuff videos. They don't rerun now because of licensing and stuff.
right,
You have to kind
right.
of get the bootlegs on YouTube. But yeah, just them making fun of the mainstream and then the obscure kind of alternative weird videos.
Well, one of the best ones, or one of my favorite ones, is there was a Mila Jovovich before she was, what's her face in
Resident Evil.
Alice in Resident Evil. She was an aspiring singer, and she does this. She did this kind of this funky, kind of a Bjork ripoff-ish kind of a song, and it's a black and white video where she's completely nude. But what they do is they use the shadows to hide all the whatever parts, and they not surprisingly the entire video the two spend figuring out if they saw anything. Right? I mean that's the whole right.
I think I saw a boob.
That's worth.
No,
No, it's a Beavis. No, the butt.
that's
Pretty
an elbow.
good,
Oh God, I went to high school when Beavis and Butthead came out.
That's
I
going
know.
into
Of
the
course.
repertoire.
Shut up, Beavis. I mean, I'm a white guy who's 40 years old. Yeah, I can do Beavis and Butthead.
Like a boss.
There you go.
Mhm.
Like a
There
fucking
you
boss.
go.
I don't want to brag because it's nothing to brag about. But in about a 20-hour window, watch the entire 2 seasons of Rutherford Falls on the Peacock. Ed Helms' show. It's fictitious Midwestern American town where it's kind of like a Plymouth Rock thing where it's very famous because the founders worked with the natives a couple hundred years ago to come in peace and harmony and built this prosperous community. And he's the Rutherford family was like a Mayflower family, like so the generational wealth from when we first got to here. And there's a Native American casino in the town, and so the main characters are this guy Nathan Rutherford, who runs his family museum. It's kind of like the town mascot, a human mascot, like at the same time the casino person kind of wants to redo the deal that was made a couple hundred years ago that
renegotiate the contract
may or may not have been the most fair thing to his people. And kind of in the middle of it is the town's first black mayor, who happens to also be a woman. So it's like, and it's like, there's a lot of the jokes are like, you have no idea what the white people have done to us. I got an idea, type thing. It's like, and then them bickering about like, well, who's got fucked over more? And then here's Ed Helms. It's like, well, we've all made mistakes, and trying to kind of, and it's not like, it's political, but it's not too bad. And it's
does the white guy retain power in the end? That's all I want to know.
It's takes a fun twist. It takes a very fun twist.
Okay.
Who does take power at the end? It's one of those shows where nobody wins, but everybody kind of came out in a better place.
Okay.
It's fun, right?
Is it like is it over or is it?
I don't know if there's going to be a third. Like the way it ended, season 2, they could. They could. If you're a fan of Shit Creek, the guy who played Ted is in this. He, the doctor that the sister fell in love with.
I have not that.
Okay. Okay, but he, it's good. It's if
it's not Chris Elliott, I don't know who
it's
it is.
not. Okay.
Chris Elliott.
But it's fun. It's really it's 22 The thing about Peacock though, you can't fast forward the commercials.
Ugh.
So, but there's not many.
Do you have the free app or is it a subscription?
I probably have the subscription because of the things we sign up for, but I haven't like logged in and done all that.
Yeah, because I looked into it, and I think I have the free app, and there's like you can watch the first episode for free, but then if you want the other episodes, you have to pay for. Premium
I
services.
have it. I have it because
I
think our phones, because our deal with our phones, we get some channels, which I don't know why. I'm sidebar now. Why I haven't cut the cable because I don't think there's anything I watch on regular TV that because hockey's on Hulu now and football's going to be. Is it the NFL's on going to be on Hulu Thursday Night Football now?
Yeah, but I mean, you still need the local channels to get the.
But yeah, you can still get those with.
Amazon's going to have Thursday Night Football. Like
Amazon, that was
Al
it.
Michaels is going to be on
That was-
Amazon
that was it.
calling those games.
So Rutherford Falls, and then I can't talk about it because Joe hasn't seen the last, but I've seen the end of season 4 of Barry.
Barry on HBO is a fine show with Bill Hader.
That it, yeah,
Henry
you know. So
Winkler.
way back when I had cable, I used to watch Barry because when they first
Bill
came
Hader
on,
is
it was that long ago where people actually had cable.
so great. Bill
Yeah.
Hader is just so great.
It's I
Oh,
hope
and Winkler.
yes.
Right.
Please God, if there's a God in heaven, which I know there isn't, but if there is, don't let them become embroiled in some fucking scandal 5 years from now.
I think I just
Please God in
I
heaven.
just think
wanna
Henry
just-
Winkler's gonna be, I think, pretty squeaky clean.
Yeah, but that Bill Hader, you never know.
Yeah, you
He
don't
doesn't
know
look
about
like he
anybody.
looks like a nice guy that's not a touchy feely Me Too type of person.
Yeah, but you just hope all of that. But
Yeah.
but Barry again, Biff can't watch it. HBO Max, Rutherford Falls. Parenting tip. You boys have a parenting tip.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things where teach your kids the life lessons, I guess. So, our little boy has been working for a while, and he's going to buy a car. We're going to help him with the car,
Oh,
but essentially, there's going to be a loan that he's responsible for, and so first step towards one of those, financial things that you have to be responsible for. So, yeah, make sure that they're, I mean, obviously, we're gonna try to, make it not so brutal for him, but make it so that he kind of learns that, hey, bills, and then this is your car, you're responsible for the maintenance, stuff like that,
there
right?
you go.
All that kind of stuff.
Joe, does your wife have any parent? You want to call her and see if she
I'm
can
gonna text her for a parenting tip. Make your kids get summer jobs. If your kids are of the age, of working age, but don't have like a theater camp to go to or anything to occupy their time. Get your kids and they're not, home from college or something. Even if they are, make sure that they're, doing their civic duty and paying the rent. Chipping in, getting it. No, just making sure that they understand the value of a dollar value meal.
There you go. Do they still have those?
They do.
All right, bless you.
I don't get them myself.
Carnivores get all the freebies and all that.
Carnivore personnel,
Yeah.
more like. Shut up, Joe.
By the
Shut up.
time this
Shut up,
podcast drops, I will have, which means I got to edit this tomorrow. I will be pulling into the lovely city of Chicago with my two boys. We are surprising management who went to Dublin a week ago with our little guy, part of the second leg of her Follow Duran Duran Around the World tour.
Were they playing in Dublin?
Yeah, it'd be much better if it was Dublin. You need dull bass. No,
I don't know the word.
Management did not like Dublin. Did not find the city charming or endearing. She said
I've been to Dublin myself.
Yeah, she said it was like
kind of dumpy.
Yes,
it's run down. You know what it is? It's that they had like that. What was it called? Like they had like a boom, like an economic boom in like the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s. And by the time we got there in 2013, it was like everything was shuttered. We stayed in a B&B or an Airbnb kind of thing near the Guinness factory. So I actually toured the Guinness factory. Nice. That was a nice little but I mean like that it's it's kind of it's not very exotic,
Yeah, because and you don't want to sound like a snob. She wasn't like, oh, the people there suck, but it's funny because like when she got back, she saw a funny meme of like something like American tourists like at the train station looking up, and the noon train isn't here yet, and it's like 12:20, and the caption was like, "Who wants to tell them?" And she did. She had planned this trip with the little guy to go somewhere, and it's like, oh, the train doesn't run there on Tuesdays. It's like the one day that the trains don't run on.
If only somebody could take charge of that country and make the trains run on time.
Right.
I got, what? It was funny though, because we had a tough time getting around Dublin because it's hard to get around in a city where the streets have no name. So it's
where the
streets have no name.
Wow.
Oh my God.
See why I love and hate him simultaneously? It's like you're not sure if you want to kiss this guy or smack him,
Can it do both?
Having said that,
but
Tokyo is a city with mostly streets have no name.
Yeah.
Most of the no joke, most of the streets do not have names.
Wow.
Are they numbered at least? Is there a
What they do is they number blocks.
Wow.
So the real big streets are named, but all those little side streets,
I don't know why names. I'm surprised, because the same thing when we lived in Qatar, and you want to mail us something, you had to mail it to, Abu Hamor El Marki Garden 2, which is the name of the complex we lived in. And then hopefully the people who are at the gate at your complex know what villa you're in, or if you could put your villa.
Yeah,
but
it's
kind
of like
no
a
streets.
baton thing. Like they kind of like give it to one guy who gives it to another guy
Who
who knows the guy where you live. Yeah.
But so we've been getting back into the traveling world. Me and our oldest guy went out to LA, and I went to Phoenix. She went to Dublin, but she landed. She was home about 30 hours, and she had to go to Chicago for the next 3 weeks for work, including her birthday. And so the little guys are getting the parenting tip of your mother is working her ass off and has to be in another city on a birthday. So this is what good families do. We are driving out there, 16 hours both ways just to surprise her. And my parenting tip is, this is what you're supposed to do. And
what, you want credit for shit you're supposed to do?
Right. I take care of my kids.
What do you want, a cookie?
Chris Rock, 94.
Bring the pain.
Bring the pain. Oh.
It wasn't 94, it was 91.
Was it that
90,
early
91,
on?
92. Yeah, because I was in like early, like a
Don't
freshman
correct
in
me.
high
I will
school.
come over there and slap you. Keep my fucking wife's name out of your fucking mouth.
I was just bitch slapped by Will Smith.
Oh, the slap.
But at least he got his comeuppance.
Yeah, ish.
Sold out shows.
Nobody's watching Bel Air. Let's just say that.
No.
Nobody's watching the remake of Bel Air.
But yeah, that's my parenting tip, and honestly, in light of what happened here, like the other day, it was only a couple days left of school, but as the news broke what happened, I drove to the school, took them out of school, and took them to their favorite pizza place, and then stopped off for ice cream and tried not to cry the entire time. And so, so good all around. Biff, it's always great to see you. Joe,
yep,
it's beyond a delight having you.
Always great to see. Always great to have Joe.
The pleasure is all mine, guys. If there's one thing I like to bring to the podcast is an air of professionalism. When you're broadcasting, you gotta act like you've been there before. You gotta give the people something more elevated, something that will challenge them, not only intellectually but emotionally, spiritually. And sometimes comedically, I do consider myself comedically challenged. I think I'm allowed to say that kind of word. Is that one of the words I can't say now? Oh, I can't say comedically challenged. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you triggered? Is that what it is? Are you triggered?
Trail it up.
Oh. Listen, guys.
If you could get that cookie to come out of his nose, I will pay you so much money.
This is my 8th cookie. But finally, you just got to commit to the bit. That's all you got to do. It says in the game, commitment. I should be committed. So in closing, Your Honor, don't forget.
Your Honor.
Time to realize death that was very much too bored to criticize, far too drunk to see whatever they're around. They always me down. Goddamn sick clown. It's all about the velvet back girl is in my face. I just step in.